I've been thinking. Hmm, hmm, hmm. There you are. And feeling. Where'd my abs go? That I need to lighten up, both literally and figuratively. But I've also been wondering how I can do that while being productive. And in all that wonder, I realized that I have a ton of bad habits. So today we are going to be talking about habits and how to implement better ones into our daily lives, because habits are either the best of servants or the worst of masters. When it comes to this, every action you take is a step closer to a goal and or a result. And if you continually do it, it turns into a habit. And this is important because best-selling author of Atomic Habits, James Clear, states that the habits you repeat or don't repeat every day largely determine your health, wealth, and happiness. Knowing how to change your habits means knowing to confidently own and manage your day, focusing on the behaviors that have the highest impact, and reverse engineer the life that you want. I've made it a habit of not really having habits, and in that I simply adopted habits that work the best for me. For example, I watch Netflix too often or I play games too often. But after realizing that I'm trying to move towards a more purposeful life and a more meaningful life, I realized that these things were just a form of escape, and they really don't serve me anymore. So if you can relate and you have a habit that you want to change as well, comment below and let me know what it is. So if habits are behaviors that we exhibit over time, what has to happen for us to change our behavior? Well, there are normally three things that can change our behavior. The first one is having an epiphany, the second one is a change of environment, and the last one is taking baby steps. Since the first two aren't the most practical, we are going to be focusing on the baby steps because it's the most simple and it's the easiest way to change your life. James Clear identifies the habit as a habit loop. So the habit loop consists of a cue, craving, a response, and a reward. For example, a cue may be me looking at my bed and thinking I want to sleep well tonight. And the craving is me thinking that I have to take a magnesium supplement to do so. So the response would be me ingesting a magnesium tablet. And the reward is feeling satisfied knowing that it's going to help me sleep. But how do you create habits that are going to be good for you? Well, it takes anywhere between 18 days to 254 days to build a habit. And 66 days is the average. Also, it's easier to replace a habit by doing something new as opposed to just stopping a habit entirely without forming a new one to replace it with. So how does it work? First, it really depends on how much motivation you have. If you're like me, you probably want to be fit and healthy, but at the same time, you also enjoy eating too much. Second, how long have you had that habit for? It's easier to replace new habits than it is to replace old habits. And third, what are the consequences of you not replacing that habit? Would you be super unhappy later on? Or are you going to be suffering in the short or long run? And what needs to be in place for a habit to be formed? Three things need to be in place in order for a habit to be formed. The motivation, which consists of three things. The first is avoiding pain and finding pleasure. The second is hoping something good will come out of it or fearing something bad will happen if you don't change. And the last one is social acceptance or social rejection. The second thing that needs to be in place is the ability. What this means is that we are more likely to do something that is simple rather than difficult. And it is divided into 6 categories. The first one is time. If we have time to do it, it's considered simple. The second one is money. If it doesn't cost too much, it's considered simple. The third one is physical effort. We are more likely to do something that is physically easy as opposed to physically hard. The fourth one is a brain cycle. If it makes us think too much, it's not considered simple. The fifth one is social deviance. If it's socially acceptable, it's considered simple. And the last one is non-routine. If it fits into our daily life routine, it's considered simple as well. And the last thing that needs to be in place is the prompt, what James Clear calls the cue. And there are 3 types of prompts, but we don't have to get into it because it just means that there's something that triggers your thought. The easiest way to remember this is the acronym WIN. W is for want. Make sure you really want to do this because chances are you're not going to continue with something if you really don't want to do it. I is for innate. Does what you're doing easily align with your daily life? You're not going to stick to something that is consistently difficult to perform unless you're like me. If the habit is something that you're good at or you think you're going to be good at in the future, you're more likely to continue. And N is for now. Basically, you have to create a prompt that reminds you to do something so that it triggers that thought for you to continue that habit. For example, if you have to drink more water on a daily basis and you don't do it, just put a reminder on your phone to remind you to drink water on a daily basis. Which also reminds me, So I hope you found this video useful and it provided you with some insight on how to build better habits. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a like and consider subscribing to this channel. I will see you guys next time. Bye.